I can quote it.
I will, I will quote the quilt thing, the quilting
No,
contest.
get on the train, get focused here.
Oh, she's back on.
You're back on.
Just talk, just talk.
Anybody else?
We return service bursary extension. Councillor Vanessa.
I move that council direct administration to re-advertise the return of service bursary policy 04-2016 with the deadline of September 30th, 2016.
Terry?
I wasn't sure when you wrote that, when you asked for this, whether you wanted it to be September for just this year or for all years.
For starters, for just this year, because our intention, I thought, was to get the bursary going as quickly as possible. It took us a long time to get it going, and then as soon as we got it approved, I realized that we approved it for May, and we were too late to really advertise the date that we had approved. So it was just sort of an oversight, I thought, so I thought we should bring it back and maybe extend it this year. I think we should be fine for the following years.
I was just asking, wondering if whether the
Right.
policy needed to be changed or just this particular exception.
Mayor Cox?
I actually don't understand how the students in May would know whether or not they're going to be approved to go to school.
If they're in, a lot of applications are in the winter. I know, like for your degree programs, often you've applied and you have an acceptance by March or April. But that's why I say I question whether or not we would look at in the future, should we change the date? It depends on, I would say, what type of students we get regularly applying for this. If it's degree students that are applying for it, this date is fine. If it's not, and if it's people that are, students that are applying for diploma or certificate programs where they may not even apply for the course until after they've graduated, then we will lose those. We will never get them applying for this, because you're right, they won't know what they're doing until our deadline is passed.
And this is a standalone bursary, is not being coordinated through NADC.
We tried to coordinate it through NADC for 2 years, and although NADC is really quite willing to be on board, it was just difficult through administration to get that process. We went through 2 different treasurers and CAOs and admin assistants, and all those things sort of put up a few blocks as to why it didn't get, the process didn't go as smoothly as it should with NADC. Talked to Simone at NADC. She's happy to approve going forward a return service and an agreement with them. They have a slightly different criteria that doesn't allow them to approve trades and some of the other programs that the town had hoped to be able to approve. So we just need to work out some kinks, and I think we could probably look at it, which would double up our resources. As well, at once upon a time, we brought it to intermunicipal, and intermunicipal committee had actually, the county had approved $7,000 towards a contribution. If we had NADC's contribution and our contribution, we could actually leverage this and put out a lot of dollars. Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Um, 5C1, Inviso. Councillor Long. Oh, addendum. Missed the addendum. Sorry, we'll back it up.
Back to the bus.
Okay. So, letter of support regional water system. Councillor Gilroy.
I recommend that I move that the council direct administration to write a letter to Big Lakes County in support of their regional water system funding application.
Any comments? Mayor Cox.
Did we get a letter from Big Lakes County asking for a letter of support, or did we get a request from Big Lakes County to sign an agreement for a regional water system?
they requested that they're applying for grants and they need our support because they get more points if they are doing it with the support of the surrounding municipalities. Whether we got a separate ledger other than the option, I'm not aware.
I can answer that.
Go ahead.
I believe his name is Ted from the county. Can't remember his last name. He's Polish. He was the one who came in yesterday and talked to Brian asking for it, and then just gave him the sheet and the map that went along with it. He just talked to him yesterday. We didn't receive like a formal letter from them or anything.
Councillor Corbett.
Did we not, at the joint meeting, we discussed this with them, and at that point in time we voted on, did we not vote on that there to back, or at that time? Now, do we need something written more than that, than the actual vote? Go ahead.
Mayor Fox.
After the joint meeting, which
Yeah.
we did give letters of support, the intermunicipal, when we talked to them, they started saying that the letter of support was all fine, but they wanted an actual agreement to be signed by the town, saying, yes, we're going to be part of the regional water system. So, of course, if they've asked for a letter of support, well, I don't mind giving a letter of
Yeah.
support, but I'm wondering if they're just gonna say, well, no, we don't, this isn't gonna help us, but.
Councillor Canasta.
Yeah, I think I'm speculating that they want this letter of support because they've actually changed the routing and where they're taking the water from. At the intermunicipal meeting, they talked about they're now going to bring the water across at the bridge. So it would come across at the bridge, and originally it was going to be underneath and flow underneath the Buffalo Bay, and Alberta Environment had said no, so they've redone this, and I'm speculating, but I think they want the support for this new route of water. That's what I think. But Mayor Cox is right. At the end of the day, we probably need to enter into a regional agreement on water, a formal agreement, not just a letter of support.
Councillor Corbett.
Also, it shows it going to and from out of the Inilda water treatment plant, or in that meeting, it was totally out of our treatment plant, correct?
And that also has changed because the water treatment plant in Amilda will be used to go to Jussard, and we are not even using our facility at all in their new plan.
Right.
Unless, and I'm not even sure if they're gonna be using it for, Riverbend.
My understanding is that they could pump treated water, but wouldn't necessarily unless there was an issue with the town. Like right now, it shows as, like the red on the map is the untreated water and the blue is treated. They could send it this way. It could go either direction just as easily if there was a problem with our treatment plant.
Yeah, let's talk. Vern?
Just a couple of comments after I looked at the map and the letter that was sent by MP. Pipelines are cheap. Just if council's gonna enter into an agreement for funding this project, pipelines are cheap. Our plant is designed to add a third clarifier, and with capacity of the raw water supply coming to our reservoir, my opinion is that the High Prairie treatment plant should be the primary treatment plant, and the Inilda should just be a reservoir. If High Prairie is gonna be paying for some of this, or council agreed to pay for some of this, then there should be some guarantee that we're gonna have our solution, or our problem resolved, which our problem is raw water. It's not the capacity to treat it. So I just want to caution council in regards to that with this map, all we're getting is treated water back. It's not giving us the ability to treat our own.
Councillor Canasta.
Yeah, I brought that up at the intermunicipal municipal burn, and they said that they could pipe in, water right to, on a sort of a trickle system year-round, right into our reservoir. So we would always have a source of raw water there. So they were talking about that, but it's probably a good thing that we put that into our letter to make sure it doesn't get forgotten about, that we wanna see that, supply built in. Or even if they're doing the rest of that for us to pay, to go from Manilda to, our water supply would be all right.
And Vern, it was kind of clear already to them that there was little value, there wasn't a lot of added value to the town of High Prairie. It was more their need for us to be part of the agreement for grant funding
Yeah.
than it was for an injection of money at this
You
point.
get 90 cent dollars, right?
Yeah.
If there's a P3 government, two governments and another.
That's right. So like it was more about enhancing the whole area and supporting that than really, because we're pretty content with.
I'm just saying that, like, our plant is capable of being expanded at less dollars than it would cost to build a plant in Enilda.
Have you been involved in any conversations with them?
No.
I think,
It needs to happen.
The only, I guess I have been to one meeting, with Mayor Cox and CAO Martinson. But as far as, indirect, discussions with anybody from the MD,
Mayor Fox?
The trend that they're working towards is they're going to be self-sufficient. Sounds like, from what I'm listening at, the meetings there, that they're planning on building this plant in Manilda that will do their whole region. And I'm not really sure if the environment or whoever is funding them is going to want two perfectly good plants within 15 miles of each other. So this might get shot down too.
operational wise and cost wise, it makes sense to expand the existing facility, and pumps and pipelines are cheap to maintain. So I just threw it out there if council's
No,
going
that's
to be
good.
funding anything.
Councilor Gilroy?
Just to bring us, I'm not sure if I think we're going a little far here. The motion I made was a letter of support in their funding application for it. And I'm hearing things about, agreements after that. And I'm thinking that could be hammered out at a different date. This is certainly just saying that we believe that this is a good thing for our entire region. And I think it goes very much in putting us in favor with the government, saying that we are a player in their overall scheme of working together. So I see this as a win-win.
Any other comments? All those in favor? Carried.
Oh, those opposed?
Opposed? Oh, sorry. I didn't. So, now, 5C1, Viso. Councilor Long, you have a motion.
Council forward the Visio software, pardon me, that council received the package of Visio software for information.
Councilor Long.
In talking with CAO Martinson, a lot of the things that they're offering here for $18,000 are things that we have good control over now, and he feels that this is something that should have gone first to Chamber, maybe the Chamber of Commerce, but it came to us directly, and in his opinion, not necessary.
Terry, do you have any updates on why we even received this information?
the salesman was adamant, and I do mean adamant, that Brian bring this to council. And neither Brian nor I are in support of this.
Well,
we'll adamantly receive it for information.
I don't necessarily know if we need what this company is offering, but it did tweak my interest in the fact that it would bring the strategic plans to life, because we have a strategic plan and we're like, nothing's happened with it. We went through the whole meetings to make it, and where is it? It's just out, just like nebulous out there somewhere.
In the
We're
cloud.
not following it, we don't really, somehow we need to revisit the strategic plan in some way to make it work for us.
Councillor Canasic.
I totally agree with you, Donna. I think our strategic plan does need to come to life, but I think we can do it without an $18,000 price tag.
I agree.
And when I looked at this is something that would, in my opinion, looks like it's more for bigger corporations and governments where you have interdepartmental people talking back and forth. Our interdepartmental is very easy, you just go to the coffee room and say, oh, we're gonna do this, right? So, but we do need to get that communication coming back to us, because that is a huge gap.
Mayor Cox.
And I also wrote, does administration support this? So now that I know that they don't, I would suggest that when the call for agenda items comes up, next time, put the strategic plan on the agenda. And then we can talk about it.
Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor of receiving it for information? There. CEO Brian Martinson's written report.
I move that we receive Brian Martinson written and report and action list for information.
Have any comments or questions on the report too?
I know I'm not gonna get an answer to this one, but I am curious about his meeting, regarding issues with Sam's Barbershop and the building. Would've been nice to find out if it, cause he put it on here, but it would've been probably good.
Actually, that one I can partially answer. This person comes every year, I heard, with the same questions and problems to speak to the CAO. And they are never usually sufficient enough to take action. They're more of a vent session.
They need some therapy. Any other questions? All those in favor? Council checklisting. Like motions, Mayor Cox.
I move to receive the checklisting for council for June 15th to July 12th, 2016 for information.
Any questions? Terry?
It was noted that the first 4 pages out of the 9 were an actual repeat of your last meeting. The listing that was given at your last meeting was not in the spreadsheet, and so the person recopied them, so just ignore the first 4 pages.
Same here.
What a bank chart.
All those in favor? Carried. FCSS report 6-2. Any motion? Councillor Long.
The council received the June 2016 reports for FCSS for information.
Mayor Cox.
I thought we were going to receive some expanded reports.
We did last month. We just don't have a meeting for this month.
The next big meeting is September. This is the individual person, not the committee.
Actually, last agenda had their expanded report from Louise.
And that only comes every 3 months?
Comes once a month. So it was in July already. I got June's in July.
Okay.
This is that there's no meetings during the summer, so that's why you'll get the
So the
next
next
big
one
one.
won't be until September.
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor? Crane and Mobile Lab celebration. Councillor Canasic.
I'll move that we receive this for information, only because I'm gonna be there anyway, so if we have to have a rep there, I'm there.
Comments? All those in favor? Carried. Written and verbal reports. Mayor Fox.
You have my written report, and if there are any questions regarding that report?
I did have one question about the doctor retention, or what's that meeting that you're going to, the whatever, community partnership team? Are they doing anything specific, like, for actual retention of the doctors in the area? I know it's like recruiting, but are they talking about that at all?
Not so much retention. If you want to do retention, which would be doctor appreciation,
Yeah, like,
then actually there's money available from the rural doctors, RPAC,
Yeah,
Rural
that's
Physician Action Party or something like that, RPAC. And they actually have money to do small, a get together, a thank you evening of appreciation. If you're even aware of what's going on in Smoky River, once a year they actually have a get together, a type of a wine and cheese, and they invite all the community and the doctors to mingle for one evening a week, and it's just to show that it's appreciation, and they receive money from RPAC to do that, the Rural Physician Action. I don't know what the P would be, but anyways, High Prairie Foundation, High Prairie Health Foundation has accessed some money every once in a while, but I actually think that our municipality should look into that, Treasurer.
perfect.
And I think we should do some appreciation. I mean, it helps and it helps the community to get to know their doctors.
No, I think there's a missing component right now, and that's why I just, after a lot of the discussions we've had around doctors lately, I started to see that as something that we are recruiting them, and we are attracting them to come to the area to a certain degree, but we have to keep them, right? And we have to show them, one, the appreciation, and two, even a welcome thing. Maybe there's something else that we need to be doing, an awareness of the community, and not just the doctors, where we're finding a struggle, in just a little bit of research I've done now, well, and you guys all are aware of that, is the spouses, right? They have to be somehow involved in this process and find out about the community and connect to people in the community a little bit quicker, because we're seeing that we are recruiting them, spending a lot of money doing that, and regularly we're seeing them leave before we've had an opportunity to convince them what a wonderful place it is to live. Councilor Gilbert.
Two things. Last September we did have a doctor's appreciation and emergency services appreciation night. It was a movie night, and we put plaques in pretty much almost every healthcare area. It was sponsored by the churches. So they had a movie night and it was all in the newspaper, thanks to Chris. And we also had one with all the police as well. So there were two done by the community itself last year, and they were fairly well represented. But so I wanted to clear up that one, saying that we have done it before. We haven't figured out what we're going to do this year, but we're open to suggestions. The second thing is, you had a presentation here from the Addiction and Mental Health Services. How will that change in the new hospital? Since we're looking at a new team, an extra team of retention people, professional, and stuff like that. How is it going to change when we get the new hospital open?
Well, according to the community partnership team leader, Wolansky, I think her name is Trina Wolansky, there will be more mental health therapists because of the waiting list and the amount of need it's shown in our community. So there is a pilot project in High Level regarding telehealth and that, telepsychology, because there's a wait list, and I asked if that possibly could be brought in here, but that was too soon. We're just doing one pilot, and we don't want to get too involved, and there was no support from the rest of the team members to say, well, maybe we should look at this. So how will it change? I'm not exactly sure how it is going to change, but I do know, now that I have the information how many mental health therapists, and there's a team of 18 here, believe it or not. And you would not, I didn't believe it. I mean, they listed all the different people, and they're extremely well hidden. You never hear anything, you never see anything. I don't know. You know, I'm continuing constantly to hear how mental health it's a hidden thing, and people are ashamed to say that they have a mental health problem, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I have never ever understood this philosophy that is promoted, because mental health is not a disease. It's like you have a broken arm. Do you go around saying, oh, nobody can see my broken arm because I'm so embarrassed? Like, to me, mental health is along the same lines. You have a problem, you go to a doctor. So, anyways. Did that help you any?
Well, I guess it's an overflow of all the meeting I was at with the Association for Prevention of Family Violence, and how a lot of the therapists and the social people, social workers and that, were talking, and when I see you say in here that the focus is on medication management and refer to therapy, and then the therapy is teletherapy, just seems a little that we need more in this community if we're so high that we need to make it somewhat of a priority in the new hospital as well. If it impacts our community and a lot of the the way people reach out in negative ways in our community.
Well, I was asked the other day how, when they're talking about having a group of between 30 and 40 interprofessionals, brand new people move to this community, how are you going to get 30 to 40 people to move here? Are you paying them more? Are you putting more ads out? Are you recruiting? How exactly are you going to get 30 to 40 people to move, new positions, to move to this place? You can't even get doctors. And now you're going to go down to the nurse practitioners, the mental health therapists, the chronic disease specialists, the Aboriginal healers. They have a whole list of all this interprofessional team. How are you going to get them to move here? Councillor Long?
It's kind of ironic, because one of the arguments that they use for us not acquiring dialysis in this town is because it's hard to get new people to come here and have them trained and provide those services, because it's so expensive to train them, and they probably wouldn't come here anyways. And now they're telling us they're going to have 40 people coming in.
She's working on it. She's got a list.
They have 8 already.
Oh, 8 here already.
Yeah.
And do they think the new hospital is going to be the carrot?
That's the panacea. That's the golden shtick, isn't it? And it's not.
I don't think so.
We're going to have a shell of different things. And telehealth.
Any other questions on Mayor Thompson's report?
I move my report for information.
All those in favor? Councillor Vinagre?
No report, no meetings.
Councillor Gilroy?
Oh, once again, my meetings happen after the deadline to put in there. And so I give 2 verbals here. One is that we had a very good meeting with the Municipal Planning Commission, or committee, and we finished off basically all that we were going to do in preparation to bring it toward council, and I believe the projected date, might be, you can correct me if I'm wrong, was the end of August.
Yes.
That we will present it. And I know that it'll be just before I go to the board meeting for Mackenzie Municipal. So that's, but everything was good. We finalized all the things, and they're just crossing all the T's and dotting the I's, so that it is so that he'll be able to do a good presentation to the public as well as to council on that. And the other, just a little thing, is that I personally will be away from the 3rd to the 13th of August. So I will be missing meetings. I move the adoption of my verbal report.
Any questions for Councillor Gilroy? All those in favor? Carried. Councillor Long.
Only thing that I have is been away for a bit, but the beautification of McIntyre Park has really taken off. And again, thanks to the paper, they were there today. Last night there was a group of volunteers who went up to McIntyre Park and were shoveling away. And we were doing a great job, but somebody said, my uncle has a bobcat with an auger. I'm calling him. After the 3rd hole, we were pretty puckered. So Rodney Badger, thank you very much. He drove all the way out from Sucker Creek with his trailer and put on his bobcat and said, all it's going to cost you is a 2-piece Kentucky Fried Chicken dinner, dark meat. You got it. So again, thank you. You made it a lot easier. And today the trees came and they're planted in, and the town guys were there to help. Again, Joe Hyde and all the guys, amazing. Thank you ever so much. And again, thanks for the newspaper folks to be there as well. They took pictures, and apparently Chris has got a nice story written up for it as well. So thank you. Anyways, I moved my verbal report for adoption.
All those in favor? Councillor Pronouncing.
I was looking at that. What do you know?
Trying to get the letter to Tolko to you guys.
Okay,
Hopefully we get it.
yeah, other than the meetings that everybody else was at, we had the intermunicipal, but that's been reported on in the 2 reports. And the only other one is the airport meeting. We had one of the airport committee, and they are planning a sort of a fly-in breakfast for pilots on September 17th. So it's a Saturday, and they're looking at doing that from 10 till 2. And so they're looking at probably councillors flipping flapjacks and doing that kind of thing on that day.
17th.
Yep, September 17th. From 10 till 2. It might be a brunch, so you might go from flapjacks to hamburgers or something.
Is that like a grand opening kind of thing? Is that
Well,
what they're in lieu of, or?
it's sort of, but it's what they're trying to do is get people to know what's there and what the new airport, and especially the fuel, and market and promote that.
When he says, can I get you, Jeff?
Yes.
When he says people, you mean the surrounding area of pilots, the people that are flying that don't realize the improvements that are there. Sorry about that.
So, yeah, and it is targeted at pilots, so they're marketing in all of the pilots, in all the airports for all of the pilots, and inviting them down, and they fly in, they get, and apparently there's lots of these pilots that are looking for a place to go, right? A reason to fly somewhere. So they'll hopefully come on that date, and the weather will be good. The AWOS system that they have there, the automated weather observation system, has been off and on, so they've actually had to send it back again. Like, they've tried to do a lot of fixes, and it hasn't been working, so they just shipped the whole thing back, and they're working on it there. The railings have all been painted. The basement down there has been renovated, so it's more of a usable space now. It's looking pretty good, but they did have a setback when the sump pump stopped working and the basement flooded a bit. So they've got 2 sump pumps in there and backups and everything else. So, or maybe 3. They're putting in 3 because one went and the other one didn't. Yeah, anyways, they had 2. Now they're going to have 3 because they don't want it out. And thirdly, there's going to be new furnaces and air conditioning. The furnaces were there. They're putting in 2 furnaces, but they're also installing AC for there now too. So it's all coming along. There's still a lot of work being done on it. I moved my report. Oh, there's the questions.
Fuel.
Yeah.
Did they get that figured out, the fuel contract?
Yes, the guy that had the contract is filling the tanks, like he's filled them up, and there's a lot of fuel being sold. There's still, the maintenance of it, we, or the county and their rep are doing some of the repairs, and they're talking with them about doing some. And they got some parts, and then they're putting on the parts, so it's sort of been we'll work with you to get it done. They're not coming out and doing all of the maintenance, but they're working together on it.
And is it a card lock system now?
It is a card lock system.
So-
Credit card.
Credit card.
Credit card.
So they are,
Yeah,
selling it and
absolutely.
it is working
Yeah.
consistently. So,
Yeah.
okay, so fuel is not a problem anymore out there.
No. They still have a little bit, the flow rate is still faster than they want it. So when the pilots are filling up, and if they don't let go quick enough, it'll shoot out. So they wanna slow that down, so they're getting instructions on how to do it, and then he's gonna do it. But they got the ball stops so that the hose, when it goes in, doesn't go all the way in, the little ball stops on the hose and stuff like that they put on. Lots of little things. I move my report for information.
All those in favor? And you guys have a copy of my written report?
I'll go next.
Oh, sorry. You took so long, I apologize.
Who, Brian or Brian?
Right.
Counselor Courtney.
Well, I'll keep it short then. Anyways, same thing, I was at the very same meeting with the airport. They will be having a grand opening. Once everything is done, they will have a grand opening for the public. That will be planned, but this initial, fly-in breakfast, brunch, whatever you call it, is, to advertise to the people that are using the actual airport, not the general public. So there will be a separate grand opening to show all the improvements. So that was just to add to Brian's meeting. That was the only meeting I've been to, so but I did, I have some information brought forward to me, so I passed on about the renovations in the sports palace. Yeah, so, I got a call to quickly come and look at something, so I went in there and they had done a very good job, took all the walls down in the women's washroom. But when they did that, they found that, main 2-inch water line above was leaking between the walls, between the men's and the ladies' washroom for a very long time, very, very long time. So there's mold all in the inside, so we made an executive decision we gotta take all the rest of the walls out for the men's too, so yeah, so there will be a little bit more money involved, but we're
How
trying
good they found that?
Absolutely, because it's been leaking for a very long time and trying to figure out how long and because it didn't show because the way the concrete in the bathroom, the flooring, it's both sides are beveled up, so that the water was channeling down and going somewhere else in the building, and we're not sure where it was going yet, so we're trying to find that out. So, but that will be the plumber was coming that day and it was gonna be fixed, so then once that's fixed, then we can continue on and make it better, so little update. Yes.
Mayor Fox.
Don't we have water audits? So that we know if there's leaks, or is that just on the other side of the?
That's on the other side of the meter. What we have been doing is taking what we've produced and comparing to what we're billing. But not for something like that, it's probably drip, 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 drip.
It was a light misting spray.
Yeah, so in a public building like that, it's gonna be pretty tough to even pick up on that.
She was still.
One thing that the rec board staff could do is go to their water meters, and there's a little small red dial on every water meter that's out there, and if that is continually turning and you have no water being used, you have a problem somewhere.
Good point.
Even in your
I'll
own
tell
home.
Ricky tomorrow when I stop in there.
Even in your own home, you can check it, because lots of times you'll have a toilet just seeping by, and a toilet seeping by can cost you $50 a month on your water bill.
Sounds like we're in Rio at the Olympics.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Councillor Portman?
I move my verbal report for information.
All those in favor?
Absolutely.
Now, there's my report attached. Anybody has any questions? And if not, Mayor Fox.
I see you had a discussion on the support for Tolko and the extension of the FMA. Now, when we left that meeting at the intermunicipal, the county was going to have a meeting with Danielle on Friday, and I think this July 18th was Wednesday. And they went to the meeting, and I don't know what the result is, but from our presentation from Mr. Hall, I think we need to discuss rather shortly, what are we going to do about this Tolko, considering that I just emailed everybody the letter that Tolko sent to the minister saying, if you're not gonna give us the extension, tell us now, because we're not gonna waste any more time.
Wow.
So I just emailed it to you, so hopefully, I'm not sure about you two, I might have the old email address, but I'll check to see, or you can check on your phone
Check
and
right
see if you got it.
So are you suggesting that we formulate a meeting or have administration? But isn't that sort of what came out of the intermunicipal?
No, they were gonna go ahead and do their own thing, and they weren't really involving us.
Right, but I thought we were gonna get a hold
We
of.
were gonna get a hold of Danielle, who is, I did, try to contact her last week, and, I didn't get a hold of her, but her, I did call again today, didn't get hold of her scheduler or anything like that, but I think we need to move on this and decide, well, what exactly are we going to do?
I had a conversation with Mr. Martinson about it, and he did call, try to get hold of Danielle, talk to Darcy, and Darcy recommended that we invite Danielle to a council meeting. He thought that would we'd probably have more success that way, and deal with it as a delegation.
I think that would be a long meeting for a council meeting, cause she would only get like 15 minutes over there, unless we met with her before.
Had a special meeting before a council
Like
meeting,
very
but then she would wanna meet with all council, and she would wanna do, anyway, it was a recommendation that came from Darcy, when Brian has been trying to make this meet.
If it's the only topic, you could call a special meeting.
Well, we can leave it, it sounds like Brian's all in, right, he's trying to, or do we want to specifically direct administration to?
Arlen, did you get that
No,
email?
it didn't come through
Did
yet.
you get yours? Nothing yet, okay. Well, basically, the last sentence of his letter is, they sent the letter July the 22nd, and it says, Tolko would be pleased to attend any meeting, this is to Deputy Minister, to attend any meeting where we secure plans for the renewal of the FMA in a timely manner. Alternatively, behaving in good faith, Alberta should advise Tolko now that it does not intend to renew the FMA. And they have said the minister in this meeting, which is the July 7th meeting, has committed to provide Tolko direction around the renewal or extension of the FMA by September 2016. So we have the month of August to move on this.
Councillor Gilroy.
Well, if we go with part of what was talked about with Bob Hall, if we're going to have a special meeting with Danielle, is there any possibility she could bring with her some senior staff from ministry that's going to extend this contract so that we can do it all, because it sounds like, I know we were gonna try to meet at AUMA, and that's a little further on, but that's right, that's what I'm saying. Is there any way we can combine those two and say, Danielle, can you bring a couple of senior staff with you and deal with it all at once? And so we can save some time?
Are you talking senior staff from the Danielle's ministry or
No.
from the forest?
From the forestry ministry.
I guess that's a possibility that we can attempt, but probably unlikely that we'll get people coming to us. We may have to go to them. And maybe that's the route that
Give
we'll
it give the two options, so, because we can probably get the county here too and get it all done.
Councillor Panasik?
I was just gonna say, like, if we need a motion, we can ask Brian to set up a meeting with Danielle for our next council meeting and set it up just ahead of there, and then we can have that discussion and see where she thinks we should go with this. And if that doesn't work, then I agree, we need to get to the minister or the ADM of forestry and deal with it that way. Because we need to get in touch with them in the next month and a little bit, right?
Within the month.
That's right, within a month.
So you're making that motion?
No.
You're
I gotta
gonna
put
be
my-
having a motion first. Yeah, so, probably let's work on that after yours. That was the only question I had, is a roll call.
Okay, so no other questions? I'll move my report for information. All those in favor? Carried. Councillor Panasik?
Did you catch any of that motion?
No.
No.
It wasn't a motion yet.
Just put blah, 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 blah.
To direct administration.
To set up a meeting, a special meeting with our minister or our MLA before our next council meeting.
Invite to our next council.
Well, yeah, to our
Prior
next,
to that.
prior to.
So you're
Should we
having a special meeting, or are you having
A special meeting before the regular
Prior.
council
Yep.
meeting.
okay,
Got it.
okay. And are we inviting the county? Or are we just gonna?
I think
go-
we can find out what the county found out and what we want to do.
They already have their meeting with Daniel.
They already had it with them, so I think we'll be all right.
Should we elaborate on the motion and give a little more leeway? Because we're giving Danielle one date.
No, you got the whole,
Oh, I
2 weeks.
got the impression that Councillor Panasik
Just
is
for the
asking for
meeting.
one.
Well,
no, a special meeting prior to the next council
Sometime before the
meeting.
next meeting.
So
Is
you
that
got
what
2
you
weeks.
meant, Councillor Panasik?
Yeah.
Or I thought
Or
you
it
meant the
could
hour
be
prior
that
to the meeting?
it could be an hour prior to our town council meeting.
If everybody
That
took
would
it
work
that way, then that's fine, as long as
Or-
it's open to any
Okay,
date.
I can add that phrase if you'd like.
Sure.
Or prior to next meeting.
I think half an hour's gonna make them.
Or an hour before.
Time.
Are we
Probably
good
a
with
special
them?
meeting.
Yeah. It'd be a special.
That's your preference, yes. Okay. Okay.
Any other comments on that? All those in favor? Meeting adjourned.